I'm Bombshell Rae, and this is the most bomb-diggity Armageddon update you've ever heard. Well, it was the World Cup finals, and the top games to watch were ISIS versus Shiites, Russia versus Ukraine, Egypt versus Egypt, Syria versus anyone that wants food and water and basic rights, and some African farm teams versus each other. They're not going to win, but the beheadings and mass rapings make for edge-of-your-seat viewing. Oh, and don't miss the Mexican cartel scrimmages where players are being assembled on a field. By assembled, I mean the parts of players are laid out on a field, and Border Patrol guesses which torso gets which piggies. All of this scrimmaging causes Americans to ask one important question. Is Bruce Jenner getting a vagina? No. Wait. That's not it. Oh, wait. That's just my freedom, democracy, and American dream speaking. What was the question? Oh, should the U.S. get involved in the fight or not? That's it. See, here's the kicker. This question has become a partisan question. Partisan? You mean the future and welfare of our soldiers comes down to political funding? You mean the who, what, when of soldiers giving up their home, family, safety, and possibly their lives is decided by rich, fat, gassy, beefeater mouthpieces who never served and traded passion and dreams for an ergonomic desk chair and the love of a good Chianti? Instead of the Sunnis and the Shiites in America, we have the Democrats and the Republicans, those who believe in global warming versus those who don't use logic nor their sweaters and long underpants. And if you think it's not a good comparison because our teams aren't murderous and barbaric, take a look at the Clinton and Kennedy body count. While these idiots are limp-wristed, air-slapping it out, who's looking after our real team, the guys who actually fight for us and win for us? In January of this year, politicians voted to cut about $6 billion from our military retirees by reducing their cost of living allowance by 1% retroactively. Offside. What? This would equate to $80,000 for a retiring master sergeant and $100,000 for a retiring lieutenant colonel. That's a red Corvette and matching soft nylon cap they won't have to carry them through their balding years. These cuts initially included disabled veterans, but no one wants to piss off a PTSD-riddled one-armed guy, so the politicians were gracious enough to repeal that. Here's the facts. 1 out of every 4 homeless men in America is a veteran. And 1 out of every 1 homeless people in Los Angeles pretends to be a veteran. The 50-year-old World War I vet on the corner of Laurel Canyon that held my 20 up to the light is dead to me. 1.9 million vets don't have insurance. And up to this point, the word vet is interchangeable with actor. 1 out of 6 have an active duty-related disability that they can't get the VA to recognize. The average time it takes for them to recognize a disability claim is between 1.5 to 2 years. Yellow card. You remember the recent Arizona issue where veterans were dying while waiting for their claims to come through? Although it took the VA 4 years to recognize they were dead. Some veterans have reported waiting 600 to 1,000 days because the VA claims its backlog is 600,000 long. More than 1,500 recently returned vets are amputees. 83% have lost one or both legs, and 5 quadruple amputees survived in the last 2 years. Their names were Bob and Skip and their buoys. In the last 5 years, PTSD cases have averaged between 15,000 and 20 cases per year, and we're making them wait for assistance. Get this, CNN reported that members of the military redeemed nearly $104 million in food stamps at commissaries in the fiscal year that ended in September. Food stamps that they will lose under this new policy. Hey, thanks for risking your lives. Now put down the government cheese unless you plan to pay for it. 207,000 of recently returning veterans couldn't find a job, and due to our recent policy changes, lost their unemployment benefits. Worst of all, it's estimated that between 15 to 22 former servicemen commit suicide every day. They come home after fighting for a nation and realize that same nation will not fight for them. Red card. Game over. I sat at breakfast with my father last Sunday in Nashville, and for the first time in my life, he told a story about waking up in the hospital ship 3 weeks after being shot down in Vietnam. He said the more severe the condition, the closer they were to the nurse's station. One night, a soldier was brought in and put between him and the nurse's station. He said the only way to describe the injuries is to say he looked like he had been dropped in a meat grinder, most likely a victim of IEDs. Due to the nature of his wounds, they would have to be scraped and peeled and cleaned every day, and the military rarely gave pain medication. They put tongue depressors in his mouth to bite down on and put his hands on a rail above his head to grip onto. And at this point into the story, my father began to cry. a man that I have seen cry only one other time, and that was because your mom's a selfish bitch. Cried at breakfast before my pancakes. He put a napkin over his face for a full 30 seconds, and I began to cry too. He didn't have to finish the story. All that was left unsaid just screamed in the silence that followed. And thank God, because my flapjacks were getting cold. At 26 years old, my father lay in the jungles of Vietnam for days after surviving that explosion and subsequent fall from the sky by way of the helicopter's instrument panel. When they came for him with body bag, he sat up and recited his name, rank, and serial number before falling into a coma. At 26, I was on ecstasy, wearing Christmas lights in tinfoil and discussing the beauty of trance music while my car was being repoed. Remember this kind of heart that our soldiers have and vote. Vote. Write your congressman. Donate. Volunteer. Help. Get involved. And then, for God's sakes, get back to Bruce Jenner and his riveting aftermarket vulva. I'm Bombshell Rae, and this is the Bomb Diggity Armageddon Update.
Hey everybody, Christopher Titus, and that was the amazing Bombshell Rae with a rare thing we get, her own, very own Armageddon Bomb Diggity update, which we don't get a whole lot. And I think after hearing that last one, besides its telethon-like length, it was really funny and good and poignant, and I think I teared up a little bit. Nice job.
It was more poignant than funny. As a comic, I'm finished with it, and I want to go punch it up. But it's such a serious topic to me that I want it to be poignant too.
I agree 100%.
And by the way, what's up, people?
By the way, it's Bombshell Rae, and across from me, to my left, the lovely, beautiful Bombshell. How you doing?
I'm depressed.
Yeah, I know.
She's always depressed after Armageddon updates.
I know. You know why? She's an artist and she takes it on. That's why you and I sit here and blah, blah, funny, make fun of people, pain, and the world's horrible. Let's move on. Mom hears it all and sucks it into her soul and just starts to churn it. And we're sorry about that. It is a sad situation, what's going on with the VA, and we've decided to finally we let it kind of wind down. We didn't want to jump on it like everybody else was. We wanted to kind of let it wind down just a tad. And I got to say, it has not gotten better. And the VA has been screwed up since, like, they were going, Jon Stewart did a thing. They went back to, like, the Civil War. The VA was, like, horrible. Like, soldiers, we love our troops. Let's go to war. Thank you, guys. And then the second the war's over, out of sight, out of mind. We don't care about them. The facilities are crap. Remember that VA thing, like, right after Bush left? Or right before Bush left. It was trashed. It was horrible. Not Bush's fault. It was that I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying it was that year.
Everything is Bush's fault, according to you.
No, that's not true. That is not true. That's not true.
She just made the word 4 syllables. Did you hear
that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it was very southern. It's not all Bush's fault. It's Cheney's fault. Cheney had his hand up his butt a lot, just say what I want you to say.
I thought that was Karl Rove.
Yeah, both of them. Both of them
You do
actually.
understand that I'm really I'm a visual artist, so I'm very visual. So that whole hand up somebody's butt thing is not a pleasant thing.
Oh, I see ventriloquist. You see you see a weird movie that was made in Thailand. I get it. I understand. So the whole thing with so I was sitting at the breakfast that Rachel talks about with her dad, and it was one of those moments as a man when he started. It started out just telling a story about Vietnam when he was in Vietnam, and he was there he was there for 3 months, and they instantly. What amazes me is when he tells a story, they take these kids, and we still do it today, but I don't know if they do it as rapidly. They were just throwing kids out there in Vietnam, weren't they? Like, it was like he was 3 months in and he was doing missions where they knew they were going to a hot LZ. They knew they were picking up guys that were getting shot. They knew they were probably going to get shot down. It was like a 95% chance they were going to get shot down, and they went in anyway. And he was 22?
26.
26. At 26, what are you kidding me? 26. I would punch myself in the throat if I met me at 26 right now. I'd go, you don't know anything that's about to happen.
Well, that's what we were just talking about. It's like it really puts it into perspective, because I was just telling you before this started that I feel like my most passionate charity has found me. I mean, I feel strongly about a lot of things, but this is my one issue that I'm really reactive about and feel very strongly about. And a lot of that has
The
to do
veterans and the soldiers coming
and
back,
how they're
right.
treated and how they're just being sent over. Like there's no repercussions of that. It's because so many people that are sending them there don't have to go and don't have children that had to go. It's very easy to say, "Yep, send them." And
Let's be strong politically. Let's send these guys to die.
a lot of that is strongly fueled by their kids that are coming to our shows after 9 times out of 10, probably 10 out of 10, they are in their early 20s and they are missing limbs. And that is something that I started to notice very regularly in the past 2 years, very regularly, kids, and the kind of heart that these guys have when you meet them and you talk to them about what happened to them. We met a guy in Irvine who has no legs. He recently lost them and recently came home, and his parents wanted to bring him to the show, and he's decided to be a comedian, and he was cracking jokes with Christopher about how he could wear shorts in December now and stuff. I mean, it's just this heart that we're seeing. These kids aren't sad about it. They're not sorry. Sergeant Pepper that Christopher talks about in 5th Annual Into the World Tour lost his eyesight, lost a lot. And
A couple of fingers, part of his arm.
yeah, and
has to
he
walk with a
said,
cane.
lost his eyesight, and he said, in a heartbeat, I would do it all over again. And nobody should ever disgrace me by suggesting that I wouldn't.
And I think that is really the key. We are around troops all the time, really young men, and they're very proud of what they do and proud of what they've done. And they're well trained. Our military is, in my opinion, and from what I've seen living around the world, is that they're the best trained in the world, and they're proud of what they do. And I don't think that we can really demean that. While I absolutely do applaud that you are interested in doing charity as far as returning warriors.
I don't think we're demeaning it. I think we're pointing out that there is a lot of lip service done by our government about these guys.
Yeah, but see, I'm from the Vietnam era, like we said last time, and I don't trust any of them anyhow.
Oh, the politicians?
Because any time that you have people who are legislating other people's lives, and they're totally out of touch with it. I remember years ago in the Wall Street Journal, I read an article by Hubert Humphrey. I don't know if you know who that was, but he was a longtime politician.
I only know the name because it's such a ridiculous name.
And he ran for president.
Hubert Humphrey!
But he said he had gone into business with some other people in partnership in some kind of a ski lodge or something. And after a couple of years, he said, if I had ever been in business before I had gone into government, I would have done a whole lot of things different. The legislation that he pushed and everything else, as a small business owner, it was much different than it was as a politician.
Well, what I was talking about was I don't that's what I'm saying. I don't trust them at all. In fact, anybody that gets on the mic who's a politician and talks about the love for the troops and the blah blah blah, and then you meet the troops when I went to Iraq and stuff, and you talk to them, and they're just like, they're all lying. We didn't get. Remember at the beginning they didn't have Kevlar. How do you send guys to war? They sent the flesh before they sent something to protect the flesh. When I was over in Iraq, they were the Humvees that they had. Guys had taken to because they were so unprepared for what these guys, what the IEDs and stuff. They were really unprepared for the level of explosives. There was at one point we went to one of the bases to do a show, and we're walking. I would always go down. And we met all the guys, and one guy goes, "Hey man, try to open the door of the Humvee." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "It's just a Humvee door." He goes, "No, open it." I grabbed this door, and it weighed like 85 or 90 pounds because they had 2 half-inch plates of steel welded to the outside. That's how unprepared we were. And then we're back home, and these politicians, we can't allocate this kind of money for this. We're going to war. It's costing blah, blah, blah. Hey. You know what? Once the war starts that you guys started, by the way, our troops didn't, just to be clear, troops never start wars. Troops going after the idiots start the wars. The people who run things start them. Then we send these troops. By the way, we made some mistakes. You go handle it. We're going to wait here. That's pretty much how wars gone throughout history. Unless you talk about the series, the real leaders, Napoleon, who was at the head of the battle and stuff. No, he wasn't?
Napoleon?
I think we were both confused by that historical off-ramp.
I'm just saying that he was a general and a leader of a wasn't he the leader of the country? Napoleon?
I just feel like
and now California Public Schools. Here's a moment where California Public Schools rears its shiny head. I don't remember. The guy with the hat. You know, with the big,
We are not helping you.
little guy with a hat. You know what I'm saying. The guy. I know I said his name.
You know, traditionally, Western military people have led from the front. Whereas if you look...
but not now, though. Like I'm saying, as our politicians, these warmongers, these guys...
but our politicians
these
are not
hawks are called,
not our military
But they
people.
claim it, though. They claim it all the time. And people go, well, you know, Obama's weak. And I go, well, I think he's thoughtful. I think he was a community organizer, worked in a community with people, and I think that he's really aware that he knows the people. They're not constituents. They're not votes to him. He worked with them, and I actually believe he's thoughtful. He understands that people are going to die.
I know that you do.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. You can say all you want, but if we go down the list of the guys'
I didn't say anything. I was
Yes, you
simply
did.
agreeing with you, Christopher.
Nice. Wow.
I will say that what
so
we-
classy and southern.
What
I've
we-
never had to F you said to me in such a way, but I have to say
Well-
it was warm. It was like the warmest F you
One
had
of
ever
people's
gotten.
favorite story on this podcast, you don't know this, is that I told what you did to the woman's letter.
Oh,
when you
corrected.
proofread her letter and put the white trash is white trash no matter how many letters you put after your name.
People loved it. Loved how classy that was.
Some people wrote me in and said I'm inspired by that. I mean, it's way worse to cut people down that way. It's the saying, you know, if you fight with pigs, you'll get dirty, but pigs love getting dirty.
Yep.
And it's a high road way of putting someone in their place. What I was going to say was one thing that I do find.
Do you just tell everything that you know on this podcast?
Yes.
Yes.
Ask
Oh yeah, we're
everyone.
not even close. Wait till comedy goes a little further. You have the stories that I know. I'm like, you have to write that down. You're going to be humiliated like my father was. Enjoy it, but then again, we'll probably buy you something real nice.
Yeah, your
When she
dad
gets-
got some nice
When
things.
she gets her TV show, you got cars and money. He's going to check you'll be fine.
It better be a 69 Corvette.
There you go. That's what she wants. Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time I heard her
Wow.
do stand-up. I don't know where we were, but it was not a friendly crowd. And
Tommy T's?
somewhere, where was that, Rach?
Wasn't it? She go to
You weren't
Pleasant Hills?
here. You were somewhere else.
Claremont Flappers.
Oh no.
The little tiny
Oh,
room.
my
6
gosh.
people showed up.
No,
room's-
no. There were tons of people there.
Oh,
It
Ice
wasn't-
House?
Was it-
Pasadena. Yeah.
Pasadena. That's right.
That
You
was
were-
when your Aunt Sandy had a couple martinis and started screaming at the people that ran the club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times.
Anyway, she introduces me towards the end, and they turned around with their mouths open, like I must have horns or something.
No, that's when she was
You
doing
know what's
Fever. And
but you know
stuff.
Yeah,
what's
she
funny
was
to
doing
me
Fever.
is that she imagines that, you know, like people think every
Right.
show that she goes to. In fact, she just told me the same story. The Pawn Star guy came to our show in Vegas.
Right.
She said the same thing.
They
that
kept looking at me.
She imagines it because she feels very self-conscious about it. People like
They don't even care.
No.
They're thinking about their actually. Here's the thing, because my dad did that.
No, they want
That's
to
why
hear
my
about a mother
dad-
worse than
I
theirs.
That's why my dad used to turn around. I tell this story on stage. My dad, when I was on stage telling stories about him, about halfway through every show, he would turn his chair around and start watching the audience. And I asked him, why do you do that every show? And he goes, because I can't believe they're laughing at you. Because you do that crap at home, you're just an idiot. So I'm
sorry,
but
I didn't get to meet your dad.
That's part of it too. Is that he probably turned around and see like, do they know it's me? Because he's destroyed me. He's just basically done 35 minutes of comedy, destroying me. And he said to me once, I told you, he said, he goes, I didn't know you saw that. He goes, I was a single father doing my best. I didn't know you saw it the way you saw it.
Yeah, and I think what you just said was key. He was a father doing his best.
Yeah, as your mother did,
I
yeah.
think I'm always fascinated by people who blame everything on their parents. I'm not saying y'all do. I don't
all
believe
your
that
fault.
you do. Yeah, it's all our
your
fault.
fault.
But it's because most of us were really young and doing the best we could, best we knew how to do. I hardly ever meet a parent who's really downright cruel, except I've been in the Walmart maybe
You haven't
once
met
in the
his
last
dad.
year.
Yeah, we've seen some people crack some kids at Walmart.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And I go, good job, lady. I always go, good job. Nice.
Well,
Let's get back to this military thing that we were talking about. What I was going to say was that I do find that constant heart in these guys about their country and much less about their government. I find a
Yes.
very common thread of dissatisfaction with the men that sent them there and continue to send their friends and their family there, and but an absolute unwavering passion for their country.
The idea of America is such a great idea that the rest of the world jumps on it. They did a study where they asked about how many, it's like 68% of the world if they could pick a place to live, they would pick America.
Oh yeah, that's the truth.
And then all of South America is coming
really
here
the
anyway.
truth.
So that's what's going on now.
In the Middle East, that's like to be able to go to America is huge.
It's crazy.
It really is. You hear
they hate
it
us so
everywhere.
much.
I
So
think
the burning the flag is more to help us with our economy while having to buy more flags to burn. Is that what they're doing over there?
My friend is from Iran, and she lived there during the takeover of the embassy in Iran. But every year they bus in people to come and stand in front of the U.S. embassy and put their fists in the air and shout. And they give them lunch and they give them some pocket money. They bus them in, and then they send them home.
It's like background in a movie. It's literally like stand-ins.
So that somebody can take pictures of it.
They have stand-in protesters. Everyone's like, oh, I'm not going. So you get $50 in a box lunch. Dead to America. Who wants to be a flag burner? Anybody? All right, here's the thing. You get a bump in pay. You get a little stunt bump for flag burning. Let's get the stunt guys in to burn the flag. Is that what really goes on?
No, that's really. She absolutely told me that. That's the truth.
So it's not. They're not just. They don't sit in their little cafes going, "Death to America, death to America." Everybody sing, "Death to America." We hate the place.
Yeah, everyone that even a friend of mine who's Pakistani, he's not against America. He would love to bring his family to America. It's a very small percentage of people in his country who are violent, and they're not. He's Shia, and they're Sunni, and the truth of the matter is, Shia are getting killed by the Sunni there. It's a fact. He's scared about his family leaving them there while he works.
All right, so now, so here's the thing. Although we can say, when we talk about the troops, we talk about the troops and how badly they get treated when they come back. People in other countries, they don't even have a VA, do they? They don't.
No.
There's you go to war and that's it. Well, you know why they don't need a VA? Because everyone has a bomb strapped to them, and the soldiers go in and blow. I'm going to Allah. The VA is in the afterlife, obviously, to them, with 72 virgins taking care of them. That's their VA.
One of the reasons that I really love, we do volunteer work with the troops. And one of the reasons that I really like it is because they are so proud to be Americans. They make you prouder. They make you proud that we're still producing people who believe that there's something worth dying for. You know, how many people do you ever meet as you walk down the street during the day who actually have anything that they think is important enough that it's worth dying for?
Right.
It's a different breed of people. They're men and women. They're not children. They're not little kids playing.
Well, that was my one.
When they're 40.
One of my try to find the bright side in this horrible situation was when I went to Iraq and I met some of the guys, and we would drive around Humvees, and I was asking them. I was always blah blah asking them questions about this. Why are you guys here? When I asked why you guys were here, to a ride. Every troops they burst out laughing, and they would start cracking about they don't know, and then they'd start making up stuff, and they didn't know. No one knew why they were there. We're like, we're not quite sure. We're building a lot of crap, and there's people shooting at us. We're not why. So what I found out was as I thought that, because at home the media was so not covering the war. They were not showing the bodies being loaded on the planes. They wouldn't. That stopped in the 60s once they realized, because the news actually spun. People forget this. In the 60s, during Vietnam, the news was showing like caskets coming home, like over and over, and people saw it on TV and went, "This is nope, sorry," and that's what started the protests.
It became real.
They learned very quickly, yes, it became real. They learned very quickly that if they do that now, they'll stop the war. They didn't want to do it. You know, we have too much. There's Halliburton, Boeing, McDonald's. All these people are making weapons. Come on, we can't just stop the war. We can't turn the tide.
You are such a cynic.
Me? I'm telling you, that's what happened. They didn't show it. They would talk about it. Every once in a while, Anderson Cooper gets a hair up his butt, though, man, and just starts going off. I love Anderson Cooper because I think that man has more integrity. He's ready to just go, you know what? With 4,500 people, they started doing a body count at CNN. And
that's what they did.
And I was like,
Vietnam.
Okay. But still, they didn't show the boxes coming home. They wouldn't show that. And when you said these guys are men, I thought that. I thought the guys that make it home okay. The guys that make it home okay are going to be men. And at home, we had all these video game nerdy douchebags who are collecting comic books, you know. And then the other side, we got these guys over there that are life and death situations. When those guys come back, Well, it's going to be good for the women's side of because the women are going to be like, finally, a dude that can change a tire.
Or a woman who can change a tire. You
or
keep
a woman.
saying that you.
I forget. I did meet a lot of women over there, too.
Yeah, a lot.
That's not what I meant. I meant women soldiers. That's not what I meant at all.
And they weren't just nurses. I don't know if you know that anymore, but they're now actually doing jobs.
And I called them all cutie. They loved that. How's it going, cutie? And they thanks for the respect, douche. They will.
Gosh, I don't even know what to say.
How's it going, darling? You doing all right, darling? All right. What's up, cutie? Hey, that guy's got a gun.
And then
Why,
she shot you.
Whose gun is that? Whose gun are you carrying, baby? Someone letting you hold? Oh,
my God.
Your man letting you carry a gun? Oh, that's good. Make me a sandwich. That's what I said a lot. It was really, really well taken. They loved it. I would have got killed. They're all martial arts experts. They'd have broken. They'd have punched me in the throat. So we just don't take care of them. I don't understand. Because we all want to talk about it. And when I heard you in your Armageddon update saying, oh, we need to write our congressman and blah, 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 I thought, I just heard every American I know and I see on the road going, yeah, right, I'm going to write my congressman and blah, blah,
Okay, well, get
blah.
out and volunteer. Vote. Do something.
That's what I'm saying. No one wants to do
that.
The
thing is that actually, my whole point in bringing up Bruce Jenner, which got a weird face from her at the end of it.
Mom didn't know. Mom, you had to show pictures of him.
Is that's what we're focused on. And it's this Jedi mind trick that NBC and CNN and ABC that they all do to us so that we're very confused by that. And we're all looking online at pictures. Is this really happening? And Kardashian this. And they are actually sandwiching.
Saying, hey, whatever the shirt you're wearing and your dog's name is your band name. Yeah.
They're actually sandwiching these budget cuts for the military in other bills.
Yep.
So if you flip to page 1097, that's where they are taking away food stamps from military families. And when they did that study, they found that predominantly those food stamps were being used to buy diapers.
Yeah, to think that our military people are having to use food stamps is so... my husband and I were talking about this recently. It hurts somewhere that we aren't paying a wage that people don't have to be on food stamps. They're working people.
Congress gets paid a pretty good wage.
Well, ever since the whole healthcare debacle where they didn't have to have the same kind of health care, and they have all these. I am beyond frustrated with our government right now. I live overseas, so I see it from an entirely different
great is that
perspective.
I would say, and being on stage and doing, I like to take. I always say I take a poll every night, 2 shows Friday and 2 shows Saturday, where I take a poll. I can tell I'm taking a poll because if I'm talking about the government, I can hear how they react to a person, Republican and Democrat. Anybody's just going, these guys all suck. So here's what we're going to do. To all the Republicans that listen to the show, both of you. And you.
No, I'm not. I'm
an independent. Totally. But I couldn't pick a side now. Neither one of the sides seems to be following their tenets. That
when you can't find somebody to run for office that you can get down behind and respect them, I don't know where you go from there. Of course, you have found someone that you respect, and if only we didn't have term limits. But for me...
I'm glad we do. But why don't we have him in Congress?
Here's the thing. He doesn't respect him half the time. He actually came out on this podcast and said he was disappointed in him. But then he forgets.
No. I know what he's done.
He's
what he hasn't
done. And his
I know
memory goes back.
But I also think that he has had... here's the thing. You know what I'd love to have seen? And this is, Garth Brooks just said something about Obama.
Who is an expert on politics.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's right wing. It doesn't matter. He said this guy's trying his best. He's had no help from anybody. He has had some of they've done one thing after the other to stop him, and I agree with that. I would say this: even with George Bush, the left worked with him during the war and got what they wanted. They did too, and they had
the only reason they did is because they watched the Twin Towers come down. Now you have to understand that's a whole different place that you begin from when an entire nation, entire world, watches what we watch.
The problem is, but they lied to him about it. That's not who did it. Iraq didn't do it. Had nothing to do with it.
Oh,
Not a damn
are we
thing to
going
do
to
with
debate
9/11.
that whole thing again? I
How
believe
come
that we
nobody-
covered that about
Here's-
5 years
here's
ago
my question.
thoroughly.
Why
Oh,
doesn't-
we weren't on the podcast.
Why doesn't anybody on either side? It's okay if when someone will go, yeah, but what about this? He's doing this. I go, well, your guy just did it. Why? Well, we got to bring that up now. Hold on. You can't. It's like all of a sudden nobody wants to hear what
Nobody
their side
thinks
did.
that Cheney did a good job. I mean, nobody that I know thinks Cheney did a good
Cheney
job.
does. Cheney
except
thinks
for Cheney.
That interview with Cheney was brilliant.
Yeah, and I don't know any military people who think that
He's
Cheney
like,
did a good job.
I did a good job.
They were
They
were just, there's nothing you can do.
They asked him. They said, Cheney. They said, what would you say your flaws are? And he in the interview, and Dick Cheney sat there and goes, I don't think about my flaws. I don't think I have any flaws really. Wow, dude.
Well, how long did it take McNamara to own up? 30 years or something? More than 30 years from the Vietnam era?
But that's what I'm saying. So we all agree that the problem right now is the politicians. So here's what I would like you to do. This is a shout out to every listener of the Titus Podcast, and you have to tell a bunch of people because we don't have 30 million listeners. We need you to start a movement. Vote. Here's my slogan for the next year. Vote them all out. Remember, vote them all out. Do not vote for any incumbents. Whatever you see, people go, whoa, yeah, but what if I put a Democrat in my neighborhood? It's not going to change anything. America is not something that is a light switch that you can just change it. It's a freaking snowball, a boulder rolling down a hill that's almost impossible to stop. It takes years. But if we took in the midterms, if we took everybody out, everybody, Democrats and Republicans, and I know you Democrats, I want to keep my guy. What if we get Republican? Doesn't matter. It's not. All it's going to do.
It'll shake out.
It'll shake out exactly. It'll split it again exactly the other way. The country will stay exactly the same. But the guys that are currently in there that we elect in will go, holy hell, they just cleared everybody out. We should probably get to work if we want to stay here
Your
more
job
than 2
security
years.
gets shaken a little
Yeah,
bit.
you clean house. I tell you what, every time a company lays off everybody and rehires, the new hires, they work a little harder. So if we took all their rights away, these fat, rich white men that have been in there on both sides, that have been in there for 40 years, some of these guys, it's crazy how long. Presidents got to leave every 2 years. What if we found a president that was the best leader we ever had? What if all of a sudden we get this guy who's an independent, he actually follows the tenets of the Republican Party about personal responsibility, and he also has enough social side to take care of the people that really need it, the people that, the disabled and everything, and he helps. And all of a sudden we had this country that was bound together by this one guy, and we were like, this guy is an amazing leader. We all want him. 80% of the public loves this guy. He's at the end of his second term, and we're going to lose him. What would we do? Yeah, Congress, these douchebags, these raging douchebags who can't get anything done, they won't even take a vote. This whole immigration thing? You know why they won't take a vote on it? Not because they don't like the bill, because they could just vote no. Because when the elections come up, their opponent can go, that guy voted against the immigration bill, and he loses all the Hispanic votes. So it is now to the point where they're not doing their jobs strictly so they can keep their jobs.
Yeah.
They're not doing their job so they can keep their job. What?
That's the thing. You have to shake up people's job security. I remember when I was working at Applebee's. And
at McDonald's,
I was
too.
really an up-and-comer in society at that point.
You were going for manager.
I tried. I was working on it. But I do remember, when they let, 5 people go, that I started at night doing my side work and started marrying the ketchups again.
And wearing your flare. Did you have your flare?
Flitzing the brass rail and things like that.
Yeah. So,
because I knew, oh crap, they're watching. Oh, we're accountable for our jobs.
So that should be we're going to do it. We're going to try to get a shout out going, like when we do rallies now. Vote them all out. Vote them all out.
But most important, to vote.
Vote.
When I was in Texas, I did an editorial about, I had called the Secretary of State and asked about how many people were voting and getting all of that, and less than 11% of all Texans voted. And so therefore, 11% of the population were the ones who decided who would be in office in the state of Texas.
And those people are kind of mostly fringy people who are just fired up and want.
People don't vote. We simply do not go out and vote. And when you have some people who they kind of have a machine where they get people on buses and they bus them in and they vote, and people, they're busting them. But seriously, if you really care about what's going on in your country, then at least more than 10% of any given population ought to be the ones who are making those decisions.
What do you think about all this this legislation to stop quote unquote voter fraud when they had 5 or 10 different organizations prove there was no voter fraud? It's 0.00001%. It's literally one weird vote. One guy voted twice out of every 10, 20,000
It's just
people.
because you saw an episode of Newsroom and then you got all fired up about it and you believed it.
What?
That study about voter fraud.
This is John Stewart. This is John Stewart, and you can look it up. Go on. Everybody go online right now. There is no voter fraud, but the Republicans have held on to their beliefs. That's what we need. If we could just go back to the original ideas of the Republicans. Just go back. What's happening now? It's crazy.
What about the original ideas of the Democrats?
That's what I'm saying.
No, that's not what you said. That's actually not what you said.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Now.
Because you only attack Republicans.
No, I don't. I
Oh, but you do.
No, I don't. I believe the Democrats right now are a bunch of pussies. I have to excuse my language. Democrats right now, we need. I wish we had a ballsy Democrat. We don't. They're all pussies.
What is that little old short fellow you like?
They're all politically correct.
What is
Chris Christie?
Chris Christie.
Well, he's screwed everything.
I don't even know what he is.
He's a Republican, but he screwed it up.
He's a criminal. He's kind of a criminal.
But I don't. Again, I have to say this again. I don't mind a little larceny in my president. I do. I mean, give me a break. Kennedy family, Clinton family, like the families that people think did pretty well.
Good point.
So he closed a bridge down that maybe children and people in ambulances needed to get across because he was mad. He made his
point about with that governor that wouldn't help support him.
Right.
He made his point.
He made a point. Here's where he went wrong in my eyes, as well as everyone else, is that he lied about it.
Yeah,
because we all understand revenge. Here's what I agree with you on that. We all understand revenge. Had he just went, you know what? The guy didn't back me up. I was pissed off. I put some cones out. And you know what? By the way, I won't do it again. I did do that. Just so you know, though, when I'm president, a country messes with this country, I'm still that guy.
Exactly.
And we'd all went, I really don't think that was cool you did that, but I really like the way you took
But that's who
responsibility
he was
for that.
up until then, very in your face, dropping F-bombs, whatever. And he could have made that like a border issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the same thing. I'll close down the borders if they piss me off. He really could have worked it, and he didn't. He lied, and he let the woman that was in his office take the fall first, and it was bad. And by the way, he's not short. Please don't call him
he's
short.
not short.
Do you want
It's just his belly
do you want to hear
that
something?
makes him
Going back to what the podcast was
perspective.
originally about, do you see how fast we got off the troop thing? Do you see how,
You two are.
No.
I was going to say ODD. Oh my gosh.
I want to say I think it's a weird problem. The VA has been so screwed up for so long, and they don't even have they don't even have computers like the computers we have right here. They don't have that.
No.
They have boxes. They have even the IRS. Our government sucks ass. It's crazy how little they spend on infrastructure and updating.
They're backlogged 600,000, and I think the most
backlogged
important
600,000. That's worse than the DMV. That's a line I don't want to stand in.
And I've talked about this.
600,000?
These guys are waiting 3 years, 4 years for the VA to even recognize that they have a disability. And we're talking about guys with PTSD that are missing limbs. Like, it's that serious. Then that's only for them to recognize it. Then the paperwork begins to get benefits. And that's why.
Are you sure this happened in Iraq? Are you sure? Then all the questions start.
Prove you used to have a leg.
Right. Do you have any pictures where you had limbs? Because we need to see those.
But that's the thing, and that's why I originally started talking about this was because I watched that CNN Heroes episode where that man is building homes for these vets coming home, obviously coming home. But it's because the problem was that they weren't getting their benefits. And so this kid who had lost half of one arm, his whole other arm, and a leg, 22 years old, was living in his brother's apartment because he couldn't afford to live, and he couldn't get a job because he didn't have any freaking limbs.
Because he did his job and went over there and put his ass on the line. And then we were like, hey, thanks for that. Your brother lives over there.
And the problem was in his brother's apartment was upstairs. And he had to be carried by his brother upstairs, and he couldn't reach the cabinets. And that's why he got selected, and they built him a home that was accessible for him, a whole house, gave him the land and everything. That's a charity that you can look up. It's called welcomehome.org, I think. But I just want to say this. I know it does sound far away, like you said, but write your congressman, whatever. So I would say start with volunteering, because as this has become more and more passionate to me, and we started the charity
Laughter to the core.
Funny to the core.
Funny to the core. Right.
Sending comedy DVDs and stuff like that. I met someone last weekend that has his own charity, and it's called michaelsangelpaws.org. You can go there and look at it. Michael's Angel Paws, Paws.
Okay, paws like
what they
paws.
are doing is they are training service dogs for vets with PTSD, and it takes 18 months. So the cost of like your donation would go to training, buying the dog, and it's 18 months of training, and then they match it. And he got tears in his eyes telling me about a vet that just got his service dog and went into Home Depot. He was on his return from his 5th tour of duty and had gotten blown up by an IED and wasn't going back. And the vet was in Home Depot, and you know those bells when that thing goes up and down?
They have a bell thing, or they have like the forklift will have it went off, and the dude reacted. The dude like flashback.
And went into stance with his gun and everything. And the dog's job is to snap him out of it, and they have a special technique that they train the dog to do, and then take his hand in its mouth and lead him out of the situation. And he did. They saw it work. Home Depot had a video, and he started crying telling me about it. So go to michaelsangelpaws.org or anything else, but there are things that you can do to help. And that was my
You could also, if you own a small business, hire a vet. You want to, I'm serious, you want a dude that will actually kick ass for your company, hire a vet. Tesla just came out with a report last week. Tesla said they're hiring more vets than any American company. And then they asked why, and it wasn't, weirdly enough, they didn't put it in like it's a charity thing. They were like, because these guys were well trained by our military, they work harder, they do their job better, they have a commitment to excellence, and they have integrity. And he goes, to find that with these comic book collecting, Game Boy playing douchebags, it doesn't happen. Oh no, that are still with their parents. But these military guys, you hire them, they'll do their job for you. Rachel, when she was running clubs, Bombshell hired a lot of military guys, and they were phenomenal.
That's all I hired.
They have damage.
For
they
security.
had damage too, but like any other damage, they got their job done, and then their damage was all done outside.
Their damage was all with women.
Yeah, it was all damage and partying.
That had nothing to do with
nothing
me.
with work. Nothing with work.
But I had read this article in Entrepreneur magazine where they were saying that there are these organizations, if you do have a small business, go online and look, where they have it sort of like a monsterjobs.com for vets. And you can go and only pull from retired military or even some active duty that are allowed to have an off job. But I hired all military. They ran the showrooms. They were security, and bar none, the best employees, the cleanest. You want a clean business? Clean, ordered, always early, never had to worry about security. They had no fear of anything.
Right.
Honest,
So
they would find money and give it back to me. It was crazy.
Find wallets and go, hey, we got someone's wallet. We got to call this person. They were like, it's the best. Hire vets, people. And also vote.
What, volunteer?
No, vote.
Them out. Sorry.
Them all out. No incumbents 2014.
You gotta give me cue cards or something.
No incumbents 2014. I want everyone to say it right now. You're listening. No incumbents 2014. Now, you're going to be tempted when you're voting to go, well, that's the guy. I know that guy. Don't do it. If we all did this one time, the next group of congressmen would work their ass off because they want to be there.
Maybe you should hire a vet for you all's assistant.
We should probably. We probably should. Yeah.
Instead of
I don't know if we could afford to pay them what they're worth.
I was just thinking that.
Game Boy guy.
I'll tell you what, pornography is coming out tomorrow night. If pornography takes off and it works and they order a bunch more episodes, I will do that without hesitation. Get someone on the team who,
And he can teach us to shoot.
And, well, we got to do that, man. Here's how cool these guys are. You know the great thing about our military? You meet some of these guys, and sometimes TV portrays them much differently than they are. The military guys I met were like firemen and policemen. Really good guys. And when the stuff goes down, they turn into a different person. Mm-hmm. It's like on point. Let's get this done. We were at a war horse, one of the bases in Iraq, and they said, Titus, you want to go shoot some automatic weapons? Which, if you're a man and any other answer comes out of your mouth, then yes, you stop being a man. They just take you away, and they actually give you the operation, and you look like Bruce Jenner. That's what happens. So we go out, and these guys, we got on the range, and they were very serious. up until they knew what we were doing, and then it was a blast. And they're really good human beings. And I cannot tell you, I never met any of the guys, and I'm sure they're out there, but I never met anybody I went, wow, that guy's a douchebag. Now, they said that about guys. They were like, yeah, it's Lieutenant Johnson. He's a douchebag. And they bonded them together. It was cool. They would bond over another douchebag. It was great. And then those douchebags bonded over against a higher level douchebag.
Well, regardless, I just think that I know that we can probably move on to news now because we've talked about this so much, but I do just think that it's a major problem that 1 out of every 4 homeless people is a veteran. And it just seems like to me, douchebag or not, that person went over somewhere and risked his life, and you know what I mean. And now they're sleeping on our streets.
It's never officers. It's never. I'm talking about some of the officers these guys met.
The homeless people are never officers.
No, it's mostly
because the World War I vet down on Laurel Canyon says he was an officer.
It's mostly infantry and these guys, and the guys that come back. People, you understand that's 25% of the homeless people are vets. That is it's unconscionable for our country. It's unconscionable for our politicians to know that. It's the worst news that you can hear.
Most largely related to PTSD, not able to work and waiting so long for their benefits to come through that they're not working, so they can't live, so they end up on the streets. And then how does the VA get in touch with them 17 years later when they decide that they do have a problem?
So you mean that maybe if the VA was a little faster, got to the guy and got him some help, maybe he wouldn't end up homeless?
Maybe if we hired some more people for the VA, maybe.
Or bought him a computer, could we get him some apples? Could Apple kick in? Could Apple kick in some computers? Hey guys, you know what? Why don't we do that? We had a country that couldn't build a website. We have access to every country, but due to the acquisition process, the 60 companies that have to be gone through, you know why the website didn't work? Because due to the laws that Congress has passed, they couldn't hire one company to do it cleanly. They had to hire 10 companies, and they had to all integrate different software and different stuff, and that's why it didn't work. And also, Obama put it together himself. You know, it's like IKEA. He did it in the White House. I know it's all Obama's fault. It's all Obama's fault. It really is. So they put these 10 different systems together, and it didn't work. Nothing worked. When we could have simply gone, but we can't because of the laws. We could have simply gone, why don't we just hire Apple or Google to put together the government system for the VA? Google would do it, and it'd be done in 6 months and finished. We'd have all their records electronically. We'd have ways to get to them. We could set, and yet, I really hate the people that run our country. All of them, all across the board, Democrats and Republicans.
I've just been dying to say this, and I can't help myself, so I'm going to say it. Okay. You remember when we were discussing health care for the national health care?
Probably not. I don't know.
And you're viciously for it, and I'm viciously against it. The reason I was so much against it is exactly what you're talking about. Every time our government gets a hold of health care or anything else, for example, Medicare, for example, the VA, you're asking why can't they do it right? And now we have the whole country under one umbrella, and we had a pretty good health care system overall.
No, we didn't. The health care was rising 16% a year. No, we didn't. It was the expenses were going to.
The answer was not national health care. The answer was tort reform.
And I think we should get rid of Social Security.
You just said a phrase he doesn't know what it means, so he skipped right past it.
Yes, I do. It's torts, those breakfast things with the filling in them. Tort reform. We need to have.
Love those, the ones with the white custardy.
Oh yes.
Stuff.
Oh well, custard torts are great, but raspberry torts, my favorite.
Why would we need to reform those?
I grew up on Pop Tarts.
You know why they
need to? I grew up on Pop Tarts.
You know why they need to be reformed?
But without icing.
Because they have gluten, and I can't eat them now.
Oh, I know gluten.
So if we could reform the torts,
yeah, to make them gluten free,
right?
So we're gonna have reformed torts,
and that actually would solve a lot of healthcare issues for me. Yeah. You're right. Good thinking.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's good. So I didn't know it all came down to breakfast cereal and some sort of breakfast pastry. That's what I didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, from continent to continent and sea to shiny sea and sometimes space, it's Bombshell Rae with the Bombshell News. Oh, that was intercepted by an Israeli missile stopping thing.
Thingy. Did you just use thingy in my intro?
By the way, this is not Lieutenant Johnson. Someone just said thingy in the microphone. Get out of that tank. Whoever just is, get off the line.
Did I just hear a niner? A niner? Policeman has shot dead an aggressive tortoise which attacked him in his home.
We need tortoise reform too.
In his home.
Yeah, and aggressive. Because by the way, had that tortoise been reformed, we would it would not have been shot in its house.
He said
So
that
tortoise reform.
I like the extremes of this police officer. He started with a stick and a plastic chair before instinctively drawing his gun.
It's because the turtle was moving fast. It was actually a ninja turtle. That's why.
He said as he talks now, he is still scared, but the tortoise, he feared for his life. It was self-defense.
Yeah, you know what? Because tortoises, they will come at you, and you can if you ain't on your game.
How many tortoises have you ever
I'm
seen?
just saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why did he have to shoot it? Was it advancing at 2.1 miles an hour? Could he have not turned left
A
and
spirited
walked?
trot would have done the job.
Yeah, spirit. Yeah, exactly. Not even speed walking. He could have just strolled. A mosey. You can get away from a turtle with a mosey, and he wasn't even moseying. Come on. Got to put him a weapon. I was standing my ground. Where's this? It's Florida. It's not Florida, is it?
I don't know. But this next story,
Yes.
I plan on doing this possibly.
Okay.
A woman a daughter slept and ate. Oh my gosh.
Slap?
What?
Slap.
I'm still sick. She was sleeping and eating next to her mother's corpse for 3 years.
Oh, my gracious.
What?
It was in a tiny little apartment, too. She lived beside the corpse of her mother, Susie Rosenthal, every day. She'd prop her up at the dinner table before putting her down to bed every night. And she would sleep with her in the bed because she's a giver. She had the skeleton stacked on bin bags in the kitchen, because you have to prop them up. When it's down to skeleton, they're all loosey-goosey. Anyway, the daughter, also would dress like her mother. She'd wear the exact same outfit and shoes that the...
Corpse.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. We match. Isn't that cute? I love it when I see it on twins. And now it's me and you, Mom. Rattle, clink, clang. What's that smell?
Once again, cannot think of anything.
You have another
to
cockroach
say.
crawling out of your eye socket, Mom.
There was a leak in her apartment, so other people called because she wouldn't answer, and they broke down the door and found her. They said it was like waist-high garbage, and her mom right next to her. Her mom was not a very clean roommate, obviously.
Hire vets because they would have cleaned it up. A vet would have had a funeral and put someone in a box and not have kept him in the house for 3 years.
By the way, I just want to throw this out there because this story is pertinent to our tour this weekend. Santa Cruz is where this story is, or either that, or maybe it's just
Santa
where his
Cruz. We are
boat is
working
from.
Santa Cruz on Saturday.
The Rio
The Rio Theater. It is very, 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 very Brazil.
on the 12th. And on the 11th,
Going to be at the Crest Theater.
yes,
Yes.
Sacramento.
Sacramento, the nation's capital. Well, it's a California capital.
A high-class
Should be the nation's
prostitute,
capital.
because those words always go together, injected heroin into a Google executive on his yacht before drinking his wine and leaving him to die. CCTV footage shows her escaping.
Did he die?
Yeah, that's leave it.
She actually
Wait, did
stepped
he die?
over his body before leaving.
She OD'd him on heroin?
He was a father of 5. Oh, yeah, he deed. He straight up deed
He was a Google exec?
on his yacht, yeah.
Aw, such a good guy, father of 5, hanging out with a hooker. What? People, I think there's by the way, if you're going to hire a hooker, make sure she's a vet. Because she will have integrity and will probably not shoot you full of heroin. I'm just trying to make sure we just keep feeding
Really
this.
good point.
Yeah, right? She'd probably be like, you know what? I did my job. Let's get out of here. Let's do this.
And give her gluten-free torts.
I will make you orgasm.
A man, this is very shocking and sad and surprising.
You just went with me. You've been infected by my stupid because you just jumped right in. Thank you.
Man dies at South Dakota hot dog eating contest. It was bound to happen. 4th of July, he was celebrating and competing in his hot dog contest when he choked to death.
Wow. You think that would happen all the time, but this is rare, huh?
You would think that they'd have him right there, right?
Right.
Like,
Right, there should be somebody with a defibrillator. You should have your own defibrillator under the table. If you're a hot dog eating person, if that's your job, you should everyone should have a little box right next to the hot dogs. So you could just keep going. Yeah, I'm 22. Oh God, plant clear. 23, 24.
He had already eaten 61 in 10 minutes. He was 8 short of his 69 record he did in last year's competition. Wow. So he didn't make it. Although I bet he now holds the record for only hot dog eater to die while eating hot dogs in a hot dog competition.
Yeah.
Beat that.
Take that. I have a new T-shirt. You've been infected by my stupid. That's the new Titus Podcast T-shirt that we're never going to make.
It's true.
You've been infected by my stupid.
Christopher Dobbs will make it online.
Yes, Christopher
we
Dobbs.
will never print
Dobbs
it.
Dobbs will do it. He did some great work on the special unit thing. All right, guys, we got to wrap this up. Thank you for listening to the Titus Podcast. Mom Show, thanks for always being on. You know what? Oh, someone said something about last week. When you and I get on, we don't have the same views, but we love each other dearly, and that we can talk about them, and at the end of it, it's just our views. Mm-hmm. We still get along. We still laugh with each other and at each other. It's amazing that not the rest of us can get that. Like, everybody just wants to hear themselves talk and talk to people that believe exactly what they believe. And you and I get along great, and we don't believe what each other believe. Mm-mm. No. Don't keep saying no. Like, no, we don't.
We don't.
No, we don't.
But we believe the important things.
Yes,
about
exactly.
Honesty and truth and justice and the American way.
Integrity, yes.
Yes.
Yes. And we love watching Dragnet. I don't know what that means.
Me neither. Dragnet.
There she
goes
again.
Man. I hate that you're 13 years younger than me.
By the way, we're going to be in Denver next weekend, next Thursday through Sunday after this weekend's tour. So Comedy Works, Landmark Place, right?
Saturday night at the Crest Theater in Sacramento, California. Tonight.
No.
Sorry. Friday, the 11th at the Crest Theater in Sacramento, California. Look, I just show up and do the jokes.
Yeah, you do.
You just get me there.
Look pretty.
But we've got some tickets left. We're doing pretty good, though. I'm really doing really good.
We're also doing well, so there's that.
It's also, thank you for correcting I went to California Public Schools. It's never going to help. You're never going to change it. This is how I talk. I apologize. Show's at 8 o'clock.
I figure if you're in the school of Ray linguistics longer than you were in California public schools, at some point I'm headed towards the tipping point here pretty soon. I'm going to start seeing just an overflow of proper grammar.
Willie didn't. He would have loved. By the way, his cousin was named Ray Linguistics.
When is Willie coming? I miss Willie.
He was supposed to be here today.
He was. I told him not to come again because he just bothers me when he's around your mom. He bothers me. He's extra creepy. And I don't like him extra creepy.
We don't think it's creepy, though. We're flattered.
Yeah, because he's got that smooth going on.
He's smooth now.
All right. Willie will be here next week. That's all I'm going to say. Willie will be here next week. Okay?
Right.
You okay with that, Mom Show?
I'm okay with that.
All right. So I guess Mom Show's going to be guesting for a little while.
Okay.
Good. She's here from
with
Kuwait.
Willie. Willie gets at least one shot to be with her.
No. See, don't say it like that. Willie does not get a shot to be with her. No, he can hang out at the podcast, but he doesn't get a shot to be with her.
You don't know. What stays on 3rd and Weston? No, wait. What happens
3rd
and Western stays on 3rd and
Western. We will be at the Crest Theater on Friday, the 11th, at the Rio Theater in Santa Cruz, California on the 12th. Go to the beach, have a great day, and then come laugh your ass off for over 2 hours. Then Denver the week after that. Tomorrow night on History Channel. Pornography with myself and the Pawn Stars, Rick Harrison, Corey Harrison, and Chumley. Chumley's great, by the way. The show starts tomorrow. Watch it so it can stay on, and we don't have to take advertising for the podcast.
So baby needs shoes.
Baby needs shoes.
Also, if you can, please, to help keep the doors of the Combustion Lounge open, please go to ChristopherTitus.com. You can see all of our tour dates there. You can now buy T-shirts, tour shirts, Combustion clothing, all of that. That's also available at CombustionSpeedwear.com. But anyway, scroll down and click on the Amazon link, and everything that you buy on Amazon, do it through us. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out.
When you want to get something, click through the Amazon link on the Titus Podcast.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm Christopher Titus. For myself, Bombshell Rae, and the lovely Bombshell. Later.
Peace out.
Have a good week.
Oh, that was really earnest.
Cute. Have a good week, you people.
Yes.
She's supposed to hug the whole world.
Should we wrap something up about military?
And what? Yeah, and to all the military guys out there and girls doing their jobs.
Jeez, why?
Thank you. I caught myself.
Start over. 3, 2, 1.
To everybody in the military who's actually put their butts on the line for this great country and the people in it, thank you. We cannot thank you enough. And to you people listening right now that aren't in the military and you have a business, hire a vet. Except if she's a hooker.
Cut!
I screwed it up again.